A rich Apache woman lived as if she had nothing, ignored and looked down on by everyone, until a rejected cowboy began to see her differently. When the truth came out, the crowd was left frozen in complete silence. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. It's a beautiful house, Kaya. Yes, Aunt Maria. 14,000 square feet on 200 acres. The pool, the stables. Your father built an empire for you. Kaya Littlebird looked out the giant window. She watched the wind move through the grass. It was 3 hours past sunrise and the Arizona sun was already bright. The land was the color of pale gold. It was beautiful, and it was quiet. So very quiet. It is a beautiful house, Kaya said again. Her voice was soft. Her aunt's high heels clicked on the stone floor. The lawyers will be here at 11. They want to discuss the trust, new investment opportunities. I know. Your opinion matters, Kaya. It's your legacy. Kaya turned from the window. She looked at her aunt's perfect suit. She looked at the man, Thomas, who stood near the door. Thomas managed the property. He was always nearby, but he never really saw her. Will Thomas be in the meeting? Kaya asked. Of course, he handles the numbers. Kaya nodded. Thomas handled the numbers. The lawyers handled the law. Aunt Maria handled the social plans. Everyone handled everything for Kaya Littlebird, the heiress. No one ever asked her what she wanted for lunch. No one ever asked her if she was happy. Thank you for coming, Aunt Maria, Kaya said. I need to get ready. After her aunt left, the silence came back. It was a thick silence. Kaya walked through the big rooms. Her footsteps echoed. Everything was in its perfect place. The art, the furniture, all expensive and just right. It felt like a museum with one visitor. She walked to the stable. This was the only place that felt slightly less empty. Her horses were there. A beautiful mare named Sierra came to the fence. Kaya rubbed her soft nose. Hello, girl, she whispered. Just us again. She had bought Sierra 2 years ago. The trainer said she was a champion. Kaya didn't care about that. She just liked the way Sierra listened. But even Sierra belonged to the empire. The trainer cared for her. The groom cleaned her stall. Kaya just visited. She walked back to the big house. In the long hallway there were pictures. Pictures of her father, a serious man in a suit. Pictures of her grandmother, a woman with kind eyes and a strong face. Her grandmother had lived in a different house, a smaller one, full of laughter and the smell of bread. Kaya went into her bedroom. It was large and pretty. It did not feel like hers. She opened a large wooden trunk at the foot of her bed. It belonged to her grandmother. Inside were not expensive things. There were quilts, there were some books. There was a simple, faded gray dress. Kaya took the dress out. It was made of soft, worn cotton. It had a small floral pattern so faint you could barely see it. She held it up. It was the opposite of everything in her closet. She thought about the people in her life, the friends from boarding school who always asked about her vacation homes, the young men who talked about business ideas after one dinner, the staff who called her Miss Littlebird with empty smiles. They saw the money, they saw the land, they saw the famous Apache heiress. They did not see her asterisk. They did not see the woman who felt alone in a crowd. They did not see the person who wanted a real conversation. A plan began to form in her mind. It was a wild, simple plan. What if she was not Kaya Littlebird? What if she was just someone else? A person with no famous name. A person with no money. If someone was kind to that person, it would be real. If someone liked that person, it would be true. She looked at the gray dress. It was a costume for a new life, a test. Her heart beat fast. It was a scary idea. It was also the most exciting idea she had had in years. She did not pack fancy clothes. She packed a few simple things. An old pair of jeans, 2 plain shirts, a toothbrush. She put her long dark hair into the single tight braid she made every morning. It felt like her armor. She took off her diamond earrings and put them on her dresser. She left her phone charging on the nightstand. She put on the gray dress. It smelled like cedar and old fabric. She looked in the mirror. The person looking back was different, smaller, plain. She practiced making her shoulders slump. She practiced looking down at the floor. Kaya Littlebird took one last look around the beautiful, empty bedroom. Then she walked out, closing the door softly behind her. She did not take one of the fast cars from the garage. She took an old truck Thomas used for ranch work. The keys were always in it. No one would notice it was gone for a while. She drove down the long, private road. She did not look back at the big house. She drove toward the main highway. She was going to find a town called Cedar Creek. She saw it once on a map. It was small. It was far away. No one there would know her face. As she drove, the desert rolled by. The sky was huge and blue. For the first time in a long time, she did not feel like a prisoner in her own life. She felt nervous. She felt afraid. But underneath that, she felt a tiny spark of hope. She was no longer Kaya Little Bird. She was Kay, just Kay, a woman with no past, looking for work. And she would find out if the world had a place and a kind word for someone like that. The old truck rattled to a stop at the edge of Cedar Creek. Kay turned off the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy. She looked at the town. The main street was short. Many of the buildings had paint peeling off in long curls. Some windows were dark and covered with boards. The sun beat down on the cracked pavement. It was the hottest part of the afternoon. A faded sign on a low building said, "Sarah's Place Diner." This was it. Her new life started here. She got out of the truck. The heat wrapped around her like a blanket. She smoothed the front of her gray dress. She took a deep breath and walked toward the diner. A little bell rang when she opened the door. The air inside was cool and smelled like old coffee and fried food. A few people sat at the counter and in booths. Their conversations stopped for a second. Then they started again, quieter. Kay felt their eyes on her back as she walked to the counter. A woman with short blonde hair was writing on an order pad. She looked up. Her eyes moved from Kay's face down to her old dress and back up. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. Her voice was not warm. "Hello," Kay said. She kept her eyes slightly down. "My name is Kay. I am new in town. I am looking for work. Do you need any help here? I can clean tables. I can wash dishes." The woman, whose name tag said Sarah, put her pen down. "Work? Honey, look around. I'm barely keeping the lights on for my regulars. I don't have work." "I work very hard," Kay said softly. "I'm sure you do," Sarah said. She didn't sound like she meant it. She picked up a cloth and wiped the already clean counter. "This isn't that kind of town. Try the grocery store down the street. Maybe old man Jenkins needs a stock boy." She said it like a joke. "Thank you," Kay whispered. She turned and walked out. The bell rang again. As the door closed, she heard the low voices start up once more. The grocery store was 2 blocks down. A sign said, "Jenkins Market." The door was propped open with a brick. Inside, it was dim and a little dusty. An older man with glasses was at the register. "Excuse me, sir?" Kay asked. The man looked over. "Yep." "Are you Mr. Jenkins? I'm looking for work. I can stock shelves. I can sweep." Mr. Jenkins shook his head slowly. "Not hiring. Can't afford it. The big supermarket 20 miles away takes all the business." He looked at her more closely. "You passing through?" I hope to stay," Kay said. "Not much to stay for," he said, and turned back to his newspaper. Kay walked back out into the bright sun. Her hope, which had been a small, tight knot inside her, began to loosen and fray. She walked past a closed-down hardware store. She walked past a small post office. A man in a sheriff's uniform came out of the post office. He was solidly built, with a serious face. His badge said, "Mitchell." He saw her. His eyes scanned her, head to toe. They held no welcome. Kay tried to smile. "Good afternoon." Sheriff Mitchell gave a small, slow nod. He didn't smile back. "Afternoon." He didn't ask if she needed help. He didn't ask who she was. He just turned and walked toward his parked car, his boots making a steady sound on the sidewalk. She was invisible. Or worse, she was seen and immediately dismissed. A woman in an old dress was not worth his time. The heat was making her head ache. She had a little money in her pocket, but not much. She needed to save it. She saw a small park at the end of the street. It was just a patch of dry grass with 2 wooden benches under a thin tree. She walked over and sat down on one bench. The wood was warm. She put her small bag next to her. She watched a single car drive slowly down the main street and turn off. This was her plan. This was her test. And in less than 1 hour, it felt like a total failure. No one needed her. No one wanted to talk to her. In her big empty house, people pretended to like her for her money. Here, people did not pretend at all. They just saw a nobody, and they looked right through her. A deep loneliness, colder than the one in her mansion, settled over her. There, she was alone with things. Here, she was alone in a world of people. This was much worse. She sat there for a long time, watching the shadows get longer. She wondered what she would do when night came. She couldn't go back. She had nowhere else to go. The sound of footsteps made her look up. It was not the sheriff. It was a tall, older man walking down the sidewalk. He wore worn jeans, boots, and a hat. He had the slow, steady walk of someone who was not in a hurry. He was looking at the ground, not at her. He passed her bench. Then he stopped. He turned his head. He saw her. Kay quickly looked down at her hands in her lap. She did not want another empty stare. The man did not say anything. After a moment, she heard his footsteps again, but they didn't go away. They came closer. She saw his boots stop near the bench. He did not sit right next to her. He sat on the far end of the bench, leaving a wide space between them. He was quiet. She was quiet. She could smell dust and leather and a faint smell of hay. Then she heard a soft, crisp sound, a small knife clicking open. She glanced over. The man had taken a red apple from his pocket. He cut it neatly in half on his knee. He held one half out toward her. "It's clean," he said. His voice was low and rough, like stone. Kay looked at the half of apple in his rough, calloused hand. It was a simple thing, a piece of fruit. But no one had offered her anything in this town. She hesitated, then reached out and took it. "Thank you." The man nodded. He ate his own half in 2 slow bites. They sat in silence, eating. The apple was crisp and a little sweet. When he finished, he took a bandana from his pocket and wiped the small knife carefully before folding it shut. He put both away. He didn't get up to leave. He just sat, looking out at the quiet street. "You having a tough day?" he asked. His voice wasn't pushy. It was just a question. The words were so simple, so kind. They felt like a lifeline. Kay felt a sudden hot pressure behind her eyes. She blinked quickly and looked down. "It has been a long day," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "First day in Cedar Creek usually is," he said. "Is it that obvious?" she asked. "To someone who's looking," he said. He didn't say he had been looking, but he had seen her. "I asked for work at the diner and the market," Kay said. She didn't know why she was telling him this. They said no. "Sarah's scared of her own shadow these days," the man said. "And old man Jenkins can't see past his own newspaper. Don't take it personal." "It is hard not to," Kay said. "Yeah," he agreed. A long moment passed. A pickup truck drove by, its tires crunching on the gravel at the road's edge. "Name's Ben Walker." "I'm Kay." "Just Kay?" "Just Kay," she said, the lie now familiar on her tongue. "Well, just Kay," Ben said. "What kind of work are you looking for?" "Anything honest. I am a hard worker. I am good with animals." Ben turned his head to look at her a little more directly. His eyes were a faded blue, surrounded by lines from the sun. "You know horses?" "Yes," Kay said, and for the first time, it was the complete truth. "I know horses very well." Ben seemed to think about this. He looked back toward the end of the street, where a dusty road led out of town. "I run the livery stable, Walker's Livery. It's just me right now. Been just me for a long time. Got some horses boarded, do some hay, some repairs. It's not much." "It sounds like honest work," Kay said. "It's that," Ben said. He let out a slow breath. "Could use an extra pair of hands some days, for cleaning stalls mostly. Feeding, brushing down the animals. It don't pay a lot, but it pays something." Hope, sharp and painful, rose in Kay's chest. She tried to keep her voice calm. "I would like that very much." "We can try it for a day," Ben said. "See if it suits you. See if you suit the horses. They're the real bosses." "When should I come?" Kay asked. "Sun's getting low now," Ben said, standing up. He was tall and lean. "Tomorrow morning. Be there at 6. It's the big brown barn on the west road out of town. Can't miss it." "I will be there," Kay said. "At 6. Thank you, Mr. Walker." "Just Ben," he said. He tipped his hat to her, a small, old-fashioned gesture. Then he turned and walked away with that same slow, steady walk. Kay sat on the bench, holding the apple core. She watched him until he turned a corner and was gone. The evening air was beginning to cool. The crushing loneliness from before was still there, but it had a crack in it now. A small sliver of light had gotten in. She had a place to be tomorrow, at 6. She had a job, even if it was just for a day. Someone had seen her sitting alone and had not looked through her. He had sat down. He had shared his apple. He had asked about her day. It was the first real conversation she had had in weeks where the other person did not want anything from her. He didn't know there was anything to want. For the first time since she put on the gray dress, Kay felt like she might be able to breathe. The plan had not worked with the diner or the store or the sheriff, but it had worked here, on this quiet bench, with a quiet man. She knew she would not sleep much tonight. She would be thinking of the morning, of the barn, of the horses. She would be counting the hours until 6. The sky was just beginning to lighten when Kay parked the old truck near the big brown barn. It was 5 minutes before 6 o'clock. She could hear the soft sounds of horses moving inside. Ben was already there. He was forking fresh hay into a tall rack. He saw her and gave a single nod. "Morning," he said. "Good morning," Kay said. "You can start with the stalls on this side," Ben said, pointing with his chin. "Muck out the old bedding. Wheelbarrow is there. Fresh straw is in the loft. Each horse gets 2 flakes of hay in the morning. The grain amounts are on the bins. Don't let Daisy trick you into giving her more. She's a smart one." Kay nodded. She found the wheelbarrow and a pitchfork. She had done this work 1,000 times on her own ranch, but never for someone else. She focused on making her movements slow and careful, like someone who was still learning. The work was hard and physical. The smell of hay, leather, and clean animal sweat filled the air. It was a good smell. It felt real. As she worked, she listened. Ben moved through the stable with a quiet purpose. He spoke to the horses in a low, steady murmur. He was not talking to her. He was talking to them. "Move over, big fellow. Let me get to your water." A pause. "Yes, I see you, Daisy. You're not starving. Patience." Kay finished the first stall. She led the gentle mare inside and closed the half door. The horse nudged her shoulder. "She likes you," Ben said from across the aisle. He was polishing a worn leather bridle. "She is very sweet," Kay said, stroking the mare's neck. "Most of them are if you listen," Ben said. He went back to his polishing. By noon, all the stalls were clean, the horses were fed and watered, and the tools were put away. Ben wiped his hands on his jeans. "Lunch," he said. It wasn't a question. He led her to a small, shaded area behind the barn. There was an old picnic table. He took 2 wrapped sandwiches from a cooler. He handed one to her. It was simple: bread, cheese, and some meat. "Thank you," Kay said. They ate in silence for a few minutes. "You're good with them," Ben said finally. "The horses. You're not afraid. You pay attention." "I like animals," Kay said. "They are straightforward." "That they are," Ben agreed. He looked out at the land behind the stable. It was dry grass and scrub rolling toward distant hills. "This place was my father's. His father's before him. Been a Walker livery for a long time." "It is a good place," Kay said softly. "It's a quiet place," Ben said. A shadow passed over his face. It was there and then gone. "Got a letter the other day. Someone wants to buy it. The land." Kay stopped eating. "Will you sell?" Ben's jaw tightened. He shook his head. "No. Not while I'm breathing. This isn't just dirt. It's history." He didn't explain further. He took a long drink of water. "What about you? Where's your family?" The question she had been dreading. Kay looked down at her sandwich. "I do not have family. Not nearby. I am from farther north. I needed a fresh start." The lies felt heavy in her mouth. Ben was quiet. He didn't press. He just nodded, as if he understood needing a fresh start. "Well, the work is here if you want it. Same time tomorrow. Pay is at the end of the week." "I want it," Kay said quickly. "I will be here." The afternoon passed with smaller tasks. Fixing a loose board on a fence, organizing tack. Ben showed her how he liked the brushes stored. He was a man of routine. There was a deep, settled sadness in him, but it was a quiet one. It didn't make him mean. It just made him still. As the sun began to drop, painting the sky in colors of orange and pink, Ben sent her home. "Get some rest. It's an early day again tomorrow." Kay drove back toward the town. She didn't go to the park bench. She had a place to be now, a purpose. Her body ached in a way that was honest and good. That night, in her small rented room above the closed hardware store, she thought about Ben Walker. He had asked about her family, and she had lied. He had shared a piece of his history, and she had given him nothing true in return. She felt a pinch of guilt, but he had given her a job. He had trusted her with his animals. He had shared his lunch. No one had done that for Kay before. The kindness was for her, not for her money. That was the whole point of the test, wasn't it? The test was working. So why did she feel so uneasy? The unease stayed with Kay through the next week. It was a quiet hum in the back of her mind, even as she fell into the rhythm of work at the livery. She arrived every morning at 6. Ben was always there. They worked side by side with few words, but the silence was comfortable now. To buy food, Kay had to go into town. The atmosphere in Cedar Creek had changed. People were not just quiet anymore, they were worried. She heard the whispers at the small post office. She saw the tense conversations outside the diner. One afternoon, she needed a few supplies. She walked into Sarah's place. The diner was half full. 2 men in work clothes were sitting at the counter, talking loudly with Sarah. "It's a good deal is what it is," one man said, stirring his coffee. "Red Rock Consolidated. They're talking jobs, real money." Sarah wiped the counter with a tight, angry swipe of her cloth. "They're talking big, Jerry. What happens after they dig their hole and leave? We're left with a big scar on the land and empty pockets." "Better than the empty pockets we got now," the other man grumbled. Sheriff Mitchell's voice came from a booth near the window. He sat with a cup of coffee. "Now, Sarah, let's not jump to conclusions. The company reps are coming to talk to the town council next week. They're promising a community fund. New roads, maybe." Sarah turned to him, her hands on her hips. "And you believe them, Dell? You think some big corporation cares about Cedar Creek?" The sheriff's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I think we have to listen. That's all. Be smart about it." He noticed Kay standing by the door. His friendly act faded into a look of mild annoyance. "Can we help you?" "Just some flour, please," Kay said softly. Sarah sighed, her shoulders slumping. She got a small bag from under the counter. Kay paid and left quickly, the worried voices following her out. When she got back to the livery, Ben was not in the barn. She found him in the small office, a single room with a dusty desk. He was sitting perfectly still, holding a piece of paper. His face was pale. "Ben?" Kay asked from the doorway. He looked up. For a moment he seemed far away. Then he focused on her. He held out the paper without a word. Kay took it. It was a formal letter. The letterhead read Red Rock Consolidated Mineral Development Division. The words were cold and legal. It stated their interest in purchasing the Walker livery property and all associated land rights. It mentioned eminent domain and fair market value. It gave him 30 days to respond. "They can't just take it, can they?" Kay asked, her heart pounding. She knew the answer. Her father had dealt with such things. "They can try," Ben said, his voice hollow. "If the town council agrees, if the county approves, they can make it very hard. Lawyers, fines. I don't have the money for a fight." "You said you would never sell," Kay said. "I won't," Ben said, but it sounded like a man stating a fact, not making a promise. He looked around the tiny office, at the pictures of his father on the wall. "This is all I have left." The words came to Kay's lips before she could stop them. They were in her father's voice, from years of listening at his office door. "The letter says 30 days. That is your time. You do not have to talk to them yet. You should write down everything. Every reason why this land should not be a mine. The history, the water table, the animals. Make it a record. Send a copy to the town council. Send a copy to the county. Make them see it is not just a piece of dirt." Ben stared at her. "How do you know about water tables?" Kay froze. She had slipped. I worked on a ranch once. They talked about these things. When there was a drought. It was a weak lie. Ben studied her face for a long moment. He didn't call her out on it. He just looked tired. "Paperwork, words. That's not how I fight. Sometimes it is the only way to fight people like this," Kay said gently. "You have to use their own tools." Ben looked back at the letter. He slowly took it from her hand. He folded it carefully, his rough fingers smoothing the edges. "You're a smart woman, Kay. Smarter than you let on." Kay didn't know what to say. She had helped, but she had also shown a piece of herself she meant to hide. The guilt twisted inside her again, sharper this time. He was trusting her with his life struggle, and she was still lying to him about who she was. "I just want to help," she whispered, and that at least was completely true. Ben stood up. He placed the folded letter in the desk drawer. "Then we'll start with a list," he said. "We'll start with the history." He walked out of the office toward the barn, ready to do the evening feeding, to find comfort in the routine. Kay followed, knowing the real trouble for Cedar Creek, and for her, was just beginning. The list was just the beginning. Over the next week, every time Ben remembered something about the land, an old spring his grandfather found, the type of grass that grew only in that particular soil, Kay would write it down. She helped him find the right words. They worked on the letters in the quiet hours after the chores were done. The town's worry grew into a constant buzz. Men in clean shirts and hard hats from Red Rock Consolidated were seen talking with the town council. Sheriff Mitchell was always nearby, nodding along. He walked through town with a new kind of energy, a false smile plastered on his face. Saturday morning was always the busiest day in Cedar Creek. People came in from outlying farms for supplies. Sarah's diner was full. Kids played near the park bench. Kay was helping Ben load some hay bales onto his old flatbed truck when she saw the unfamiliar car. It was a long, sleek black car. It looked like a slick insect against the dusty street. It moved slowly, as if the driver was looking for something. It pulled to a stop right in the middle of the town square. People stopped to look. A car like that didn't belong in Cedar Creek. The driver's door opened. A man in a suit got out. He walked around and opened the back passenger door. A woman stepped out. She was elegant, maybe 50 years old. She wore a tailored dress and sunglasses. She looked around, her lips pressed into a thin line of displeasure. Then her gaze swept across the square and landed on the flatbed truck, on Ben, on Kay in her faded gray dress, her arms full of hay. The woman's hand flew to her mouth. Then she took off her sunglasses. "Kaya!" The name cut through the square like a gunshot. "Kaya, little bird!" Every sound in Cedar Creek stopped. The chatter from the diner, the laughter of the kids, the bird in the tree seemed to go silent. Kay froze. The hay bale slipped from her hands and thudded to the dirt. Sheriff Mitchell, who had been leaning against a post outside the post office, slowly stood up straight. His face lost all its color. Sarah came out of the diner, a coffee pot in her hand. She stared. The elegant woman, Aunt Maria, hurried across the square. Her high heels clicked on the pavement. "Kaya, we have been looking everywhere for you. What are you doing? What are you wearing?" She reached out and touched the sleeve of the gray dress as if it were covered in mud. Ben looked from the woman to Kay. His brow was deeply furrowed. "Kay?" Aunt Maria didn't even glance at him. "Your lawyers are frantic. The board meeting is on Monday. We need you to sign the final approval for the Red Rock Valley Initiative. You just vanished." She said the words like they explained everything. Kay felt the world tilt. The pieces clicked together with a terrible, sickening clarity. Asterisk Red Rock Valley Initiative. Her family's trust, the mining company. "No," Kay whispered. Then she found her voice. "The Red Rock Consolidated Mine? Our money is behind that?" "Of course it is," Aunt Maria said, exasperated. "It's the largest investment in the trust's history. Your father would have approved. We all did. Now come, let's get you home and cleaned up." Ben took a step back. The hurt and confusion on his face was worse than any anger. "Kaya, little bird," he said slowly. The heiress?" The entire town was listening. Their eyes were wide. The poor, quiet woman they had ignored was the richest young woman in the state. Sarah's mouth hung open, but Kay was only looking at her aunt. "You are using our money to destroy this town, to take Ben's land." Aunt Maria waved a hand, finally noticing the audience. "This is not the place for this, Kaya. It's a business decision, a very profitable one. These people will be compensated. This is my home." The words burst from Kay. They weren't part of her plan. They were just true. Aunt Maria's eyes narrowed. She leaned in closer, her voice dropping but still sharp enough for Ben and others nearby to hear. "Don't be dramatic. You don't know these people, and they certainly don't know you. Now, the deal is already in motion. Your signature is a formality. Come with me." Kay looked at Ben. His face was a mask of stone. She looked at the stunned, silent people of Cedar Creek. She saw the betrayal in their eyes, mixed with a dawning fear. Their mysterious enemy wasn't just some far-off corporation. It was her. The truth was out, and it was so much worse than anyone could have imagined. The silence in the square lasted only a moment after Aunt Maria's car disappeared. Then the noise came back as a wave of shocked whispers and pointed fingers. All of it was aimed at Kaya. She turned to Ben. He was already walking away, toward the stables, his shoulders stiff. "Ben, wait!" she called, running after him. The eyes of the town followed her. He didn't stop until he was inside the dim, quiet barn. He went straight to a worn saddle on a stand and began polishing the same buckle over and over, his movements sharp. "Ben, please," Kaya said, stopping a few feet away. "Your name is Kaya," he said, not looking at her. "Not Kay." "It is, but I am also Kay, the person who worked here with you." That was real. He finally looked at her. The sadness in his eyes was worse than anger. Was it? Or was I just part of your test? The sad cowboy who was nice to the poor girl. "No," she said, her voice breaking. "You were the first person who was kind to me without wanting anything. That is why I stayed. The money, the name. It pushes people away, it makes them lie. I wanted to see if I could be just a person. I was wrong to lie to you. I am so sorry." Ben was quiet for a long time. The only sound was the horses shifting in their stalls. "Your family's money," he said slowly. "It's the reason I might lose my home." "I did not know," Kaya said, desperate for him to believe her. "I never paid attention to the trust's investments. My aunt handles it. I was too busy being lonely in a big house. I am a part of this problem, but I want to fix it." "How?" Ben asked. The word was heavy with doubt. "First, I stopped the money," Kaya said. The plan formed in her mind as she spoke, using the business sense she had always tried to ignore. "The project needs final approval from the trust. My signature. I will not give it. Then I will tell the lawyers to withdraw all funding from Red Rock Consolidated for this mine. It will cause problems. It might even break the deal." Ben put the polishing cloth down. He studied her face, looking for the woman he knew as Kay. "And then what? You go back to your big house?" Kaya shook her head. "I told my aunt this is my home. I did not mean to say it, but it is true. If you will let me, I want to stay. I want to help you and this town fight." She didn't wait for his answer. She knew she had to act now. She borrowed Ben's old phone from the office. She called the main number for her family's lawyers in Phoenix. A smooth voice answered. "Littlebird Trust, legal offices." "This is Kaya Littlebird," she said, her voice firm. It was the first time she had used that name with authority in weeks. "I am calling about the Red Rock Valley Initiative. I am rejecting the final approval. Do not process it. Furthermore, I am instructing the trust to immediately withdraw all financial backing from Red Rock Consolidated's mining operation in Cedar Creek. Email me the withdrawal documents. I will sign them today." There was a stunned silence on the other end. "Miss Littlebird, that is a highly unusual—" "Do it," Kaya said, "or I will call every news station in Arizona and tell them my trust is funding the destruction of a town without my consent." She hung up. She walked back out into the square. The townspeople were still gathered in small, nervous clusters. Sarah, the diner owner, was there. So was Old Man Jenkins from the market. Sheriff Mitchell watched from the steps of his office, his face dark. Kaya climbed onto the back of Ben's flatbed truck. She took a deep breath. "My name is Kaya Littlebird," she called out. People turned to stare. "I lied to you. I came here pretending to be poor because I was lonely and I did not know who to trust. That was wrong. But I learned about this town. I learned about your homes, and I just found out that my own family's money is being used to threaten them." A murmur ran through the crowd. "I have just called my lawyers," she continued. "The money from my trust for the mine is being cut off. It will not fix everything. The company might still try, but they have lost their biggest supporter, me. I am choosing to stay. I am choosing to fight for Cedar Creek. I ask for the chance to help." The silence that followed was different. It was not shock. It was suspicion and deep confusion. Sarah crossed her arms. "Why should we believe you now?" Sarah shouted. "You lied before." "You are right not to trust me," Kaya said, her shoulders slumping. "I can only try to make it right." She stepped down from the truck. The crowd began to break apart, people talking in low, urgent tones. They didn't welcome her. They didn't thank her. They just watched her, unsure if she was a savior or a more complicated kind of enemy. Ben walked out of the livery. He had heard everything. He didn't smile, but he gave her a slow, single nod. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. Across the square, Sheriff Mitchell turned and walked into his office, slamming the door hard. His plan was crumbling, and the person who broke it was the same woman he had dismissed on the street. A dangerous kind of panic was settling in behind his eyes. Sheriff Del Mitchell sat in his dark office. The closed door did not block out the sound of the town talking. He could hear their voices, full of new worry and a little bit of hope. Hope because of her asterisk. That girl. He put his head in his hands. On his desk was a pile of papers. They were not official reports. They were medical bills. Many, many bills. His wife's name was on every one. The numbers on them were so large they made him feel sick. A single sheet of clean paper lay on top. It was a promise from a man in a suit from Red Rock Consolidated. It promised a large sum of money, enough to pay all the bills and leave some left over. It promised a new job in another town, far away from this dying place. All he had to do was help the company, ease the way, calm the town's fears, make sure the land deals went through. Now that promise was worth nothing. Kaya Littlebird had cut off the money. The whole deal would fall apart. The company man had called him an hour ago. His voice was cold. The situation has changed, Sheriff. Our funding source is gone. The project is on hold indefinitely. Our agreement is null and void. Just like that. No money, no escape. Just the bills and his wife's pale, tired face at home. Mitchell stood up and paced the small room. His eyes landed on the framed photo on his desk. Him and his wife years ago, smiling. That smile was gone now, replaced by pain and worry. He thought about the town. He thought about Ben Walker, sitting on his precious land like a stubborn old mule. He thought about Kaya, playing her rich girl games and destroying his only chance. Anger, hot and desperate, filled his chest. If Ben was gone, the last piece of resistance would be broken. The livery was the heart of it. The town's spirit was tied to that old barn. If it was gone, the fight would go out of them. Maybe Red Rock would come back with a lower offer. Maybe he could still salvage something. He went to the window. The wind was picking up. It whistled through the gaps in the old buildings. It was a dry, hot wind from the east, the kind of wind that made firefighters nervous. An idea, terrible and simple, formed in his mind. It was so clear it almost didn't feel like his own. He put on his hat and walked out of the office. He got into his sheriff's SUV. He did not turn on the lights. He drove slowly out of town, toward the dry hills to the east. No one paid him any attention. He drove for 15 minutes until the town lights were just a faint glow behind him. He pulled off onto a dirt track and stopped. He got out. The wind howled around him, kicking up dust. From the back of his SUV, he took a red gasoline can he used for his lawnmower. It was half full. He walked a few hundred yards into the dry brush. The grasses were brown and brittle. They rustled like paper in the wind. He stood there for a long minute, the gas can heavy in his hand. He saw his wife's face. He saw the pile of bills on his desk. "It's just land," he whispered to the wind. "It's just an old barn." He unscrewed the cap. He poured the gasoline in a long, sad line along the base of the brush. The smell was sharp and chemical. He walked back a few steps, took a book of matches from his pocket, and struck one. The flame was small and bright in his hand. He looked at it. Then he dropped it. The fire did not just start, it exploded. The gasoline ignited with a asterisk, whoosh asterisk. The hungry wind grabbed the flames immediately. They raced along the line of fuel and then leapt into the dry grass, moving faster than a man could run. The fire was no longer his. It belonged to the wind. Sheriff Mitchell ran back to his SUV. He got in and started the engine. In his rearview mirror, he saw an orange wall of light growing, rushing toward the town and right toward the Walker livery. He drove back to Cedar Creek, his hands tight on the wheel. He would go to the station. He would raise the alarm. He would be the hero trying to save the town. No one would know where the fire began. But as he drove, all he could see in his mind was not the fire, but Ben Walker's face. And he knew, deep down, he had just crossed a line from which there was no coming back. The first thing Ben noticed was the smell. Not the usual smell of hay and horses, but something sharp and wrong. Smoke. He dropped the hoof pick he was holding and ran out of the barn's side door. To the east, the sky was no longer black. It was a terrible glowing orange. A rolling cloud of smoke, lit from beneath, was moving toward the town. The wind was screaming. "No," Ben whispered. Then he shouted, "Fire!" He ran back into the barn. The horses were stirring, stamping their feet, their eyes wide with fear. "Easy now, easy," he said, his voice forced calm. He started opening stall doors. "Come on, girls, we gotta move." The sound of tires screeching to a halt outside cut through the noise. Sheriff Mitchell's SUV pulled up, blocking the main barn doors. Mitchell jumped out, his face smudged with soot that wasn't there before. "Walker!" Mitchell yelled, running toward him. "The fire's coming fast. You have to evacuate, now." Ben was leading 2 panicked horses out a back door. "I am. Get out of my way." Mitchell didn't move from the main entrance. He spread his arms. "There's no time for the animals. Save yourself. The whole town needs to pull back." Ben stopped. He looked from the terrified horses to the sheriff's wild eyes. Something was off. The fire was still a distance away. There was time. Mitchell wasn't here to help. He was here to stop him. "You're blocking the door," Ben said, his voice low and dangerous. "I'm saving your life, you old fool," Mitchell shouted. "Forget the stable." "This stable asterisk is asterisk my life," Ben said. He tried to push past, leading the horses. Mitchell shoved him back. "Sentiment don't pay the bills, Walker. Let it burn." The words hung in the smoky air. Ben stared at him. You want it to burn." Before Mitchell could answer, another voice cut through the night. "Step away from him, Sheriff." Kaya stood there. She was not in the gray dress. She wore jeans, boots, and a determined look that no one in Cedar Creek had ever seen. She held 2 lead ropes in her hands. Mitchell's eyes bulged. "You! This is official business. Get back." "The only business here is you blocking the rescue of these horses," Kaya said, walking forward without fear. The wind whipped her hair loose from its braid. "Why would a sheriff do that?" People were arriving now, drawn by the fire and the shouting. Sarah came running, Old Man Jenkins, others from the town. They saw the wall of fire in the distance, lighting up the scene in front of the livery. "He's trying to stop me," Ben yelled to the crowd. "He wants the fire to take it." "He's crazy," Mitchell blustered, turning to the townspeople. "The man's panicking. I'm trying to get him to safety." Kaya walked right up to Mitchell. She looked him directly in the eye. "You were gone from town before the fire started. I saw you drive east. Where did you go, Sheriff?" A flicker of pure panic crossed Mitchell's face. "I was on patrol." "In the dry hills?" Kaya pressed. "With a gasoline can in your car?" The crowd gasped. Mitchell's hand went to his gun. "You shut your mouth, rich girl. You don't know anything about this town." "I know you're in debt," Kaya said, her voice loud and clear for all to hear. "I know Red Rock promised you money to help them, and when I stopped the money, you decided to help the fire instead." The truth, laid out so simply, was undeniable. The townspeople looked from Mitchell's guilty face to the advancing fire, and they understood. Ben used the moment. He pushed past Mitchell and ran back into the barn for more horses. Kaya threw one of the lead ropes to Sarah. "Please help us." Sarah hesitated for only a second. Then she caught the rope and ran to follow Ben. It was all the signal the town needed. They surged forward, not to flee, but to help. They formed a line, leading horses, carrying buckets of water from the trough to wet the barn's walls. Sheriff Mitchell stood alone, his authority gone, surrounded by the people he had betrayed. The fire was getting closer, the heat intense on their faces. The fight for Cedar Creek was no longer about papers or meetings. It was here, in the smoke and the flames, and Kaya was right in the middle of it. The wind shifted. It was a small change, but it was enough. The wall of fire, which had been racing straight for the livery, hit a ridge of bare rock and turned slightly north. The firefighters from the next town, who had just arrived with their trucks, aimed their hoses at the new edge of the flames. The townspeople of Cedar Creek worked until their hands were raw and their faces were black with soot. They passed buckets. They wet down the roofs of the barn and the nearby houses. They led the last of the horses to the safety of the football field at the school. When the sun finally rose, the fire was out. A line of black, smoldering earth stretched to the hills, but it stopped at the very edge of Ben's property. The livery stood. The town stood. In the gray morning light, they all stood together in the square, exhausted. Sheriff Mitchell sat on the steps of his office, his head in his hands. 2 firefighters stood nearby, watching him. He was not in charge anymore. Ben walked up to him. Kaya was right beside him. Mitchell looked up, his eyes red. "I didn't want anyone to get hurt. I saw a way out." "You set a fire," Ben said, his voice tired. "You endangered every person and animal here." "My wife," Mitchell began, but his words faded. There was no excuse big enough. Sarah stepped forward from the crowd. She looked at Mitchell, then at Kaya and Ben. "What do we do now?" One of the firefighters, a captain, spoke up. "We'll take him into county custody. They'll handle it from here." He helped Mitchell stand and led him to a truck. The town watched in silence as the sheriff was driven away. The man who was supposed to protect them had tried to destroy them. It was a quiet, terrible truth. A few days later, a formal letter arrived at the town council. It was from Red Rock Consolidated. It said the mining project in the Cedar Creek area was no longer economically viable and was permanently discontinued. The fight was over. They had won, but the damage was still there. A portion of Ben's grazing land was burned. Some fences were gone. The town felt bruised and tired. Kaya knew what she had to do. She called her lawyers again. This time, she gave different instructions. She authorized money from her trust, not for a mine, but for repairs, for new fencing posts and grass seed, for a new coat of paint for the diner. She made sure the money went directly to the people, with no strings attached. She brought the paperwork to Ben at the livery. He was fixing a charred section of fence. "I want to pay for all of this," she said, handing him the papers. "It is the least I can do." Ben put down his hammer. He looked at the papers, then at her. "I don't want your money, Kaya." "I know," she said softly. "But this is not about my money. It is about my responsibility. My family helped cause this problem. Please, let me help fix it, not as an heiress, as your friend." Ben was silent for a long time. He looked out at his scorched land. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, as my friend." He picked up his hammer again. "And for what it's worth, I'm glad you're not Kay, and I'm glad you're not just Kaya the heiress. I'm glad you're you." A smile broke through the tiredness on Kaya's face. It was the first real smile he had seen from her. Weeks passed. The repairs began. One afternoon, Sarah brought a pie to the livery. It was apple. "For you both," she said, not quite meeting their eyes at first. "I was wrong, about a lot of things." She looked at Kaya. "You stayed. You fought. That means something here." Old Man Jenkins from the market started ordering special feed for Ben's horses at his cost. Small acts of kindness, once rare, began to weave through Cedar Creek. Kaya did not go back to her big house. She rented the small room above the hardware store permanently. She worked at the livery every day. She and Ben would sit on the picnic table at sunset, watching the sky turn colors, talking about simple things. The town learned that the two people they had overlooked, the quiet cowboy and the shabby stranger, had shown them what real strength was. It was not in land or money. It was in showing up. It was in sharing an apple on a hard day. It was in standing together against the fire. Kaya Littlebird had finally found what she was looking for. Not a test, not a game, a real home, and a real friend who saw her not for what she had, but for who she was.